Oh, okay, cool.
Recording in progress, it says.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How are things, Justyna? How's Nashville?
Things are good.
Is it cold, warm? What is it down there? It's freezing here.
It's pretty cold here, yes.
Yeah, it's cold here. I've just come inside because I'm also a formateur en anglais. So
Yes.
I do teaching. So I've got classes a lot. I've got another class tonight, in fact. But
Nice.
when I finished, I rushed out to get some wood for the fire. So I've been outside getting wood. And God, was it wow. So I'm just trying to
That's
warm.
cool that you have a wood fireplace, though. Hey, Tony, do you see Eddie trying to get into the meeting? It says that he's
accepted Steve Cropper. It's put, and I put admit.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because Eddie's yeah, your Zoom, Eddie, is still under Steve's. But he said he accepted you.
It's accepted. It's put accepted, so I don't know.
It says accepting.
Maybe it's blocking it for some strange reason. I don't know.
Maybe try again, Eddie. Maybe get out of it and try to go back in and like hang up with me and try to get back in.
All right, that's what I'll do. I'll get off with everybody.
Okay. Yeah. So how are things going?
We're waiting now. We've got to start filming. I've not been very well, actually. Ironically, it's my tooth. I've had an abscess under one of my teeth here.
Oh,
and I've had an awful time because the dentists, you know, they were off and now they're overloaded with people. And I couldn't get one. So I had to go to my doc. I just couldn't stand it anymore. I mean, I had my gums were all swelling up and the side of my face was out here. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. 2 days of agony I went through. I saw my doc. I'm on antibiotics at the moment. So the swelling's gone down. There's still a bit left, but it's going down and the pain is largely gone, thank God. But trying to see dentists, it's, oh, wait a minute.
Is he there?
Yeah, it's still under Steve Cropper. Ah,
yeah,
yes.
He had changed it because
it's coming up. Connection, audio, there we are.
There
we
he
got
is.
you. We got you in your vehicle, Eddie.
Yeah, you got me. I'm driving. I'm mobile.
You're mobile.
I just got out of the shower over at the gym and my hair, I just look like a mess.
Who cares, man? We don't
care. It's kind of Brad Pitt look going on, except without Brad and Pitt.
Well, you know, Brad Pitt, he's working with another guy. You know, his house he shared with Angelina in France. Part of that, they've made a studio out of that. A recording studio. They're not finished it. It's in renovation at the moment. But I've reached out to these guys now because to have that link between that studio in France and how about you guys?
That's good thinking. I like that.
You know, he's very keen on music, is Brad Pitt, obviously. And he teamed up with this friend of his. And they're really rebuilding a new studio. And also, it's in a vineyard. I mean, he grows wine there.
Holy cow. Well, I think that's important.
I've lost Justyna. Where's Justyna gone?
I don't know where she's gone. I'll tell you what some of the stuff.
Oh, she's trying again. Wait a minute. She's trying to get back in. I'm just trying to get her back in. She went out and she's back in. She's back. Oh, she will be in a second. There she is. She's back. We lost you, Justyna. We wondered what happened.
I'm having Wi-Fi issues. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I've had it today. I had it in the middle of a course and it cut off completely and I was not happy. And the lights on my live box were flashing. I mean, it was not our problem. It's something they've been working on here. They're up doing to 5G and God knows what at the moment. So it's
Justyna, we were just I was making a quip that I said I look like Brad Pitt without the Brad and the Pitt. And but he said he has Brad Pitt up there building a studio in their house with Angelina, and they'd love to we thought we'd be perfect to connect with. I said, I like the way you're thinking.
You know,
oh yeah, where's their studio?
They're down in the south of France. You know, he owned the chateau where they produce wine with Angelina Jolie, I think, after they split up. But the fact is, he's held on to this place and he's teamed up with this guy in the music scene. And they're rebuilding an old studio there. They're renovating it completely. I mean, even Brad has done some work himself. He likes to do work himself physically. And they're rebuilding this studio, this music studio. And we're talking smack this chateau where there's a vineyard.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, where food, wine, music, bang, Brad Pitt. What more can you want?
That would be great to go there.
So I'm looking in that direction at the minute because that could be exciting. You know? I don't know whether he's a country music fan. I've no idea, but he's a music fan, that's for sure. So let's see what we can do on that score. You know, it should be finished sometime this year because they're working on it now, but it'll be a recording studio.
Wow.
So that
we got to get over there, Eddie.
That's what I said. They need a really good producer, somebody who knows what's going on, somebody that speaks French and sings. I wonder who that could be. Yeah.
This is something I'm looking at very seriously because this could be an opening that we didn't expect. Honestly, completely out of the blue. And I thought, wow.
But anyway, really quick, we've been fortunate enough to do. There's a lot of folks that just kind of like one of the little side things. They love to do music and stuff, and we've been hired by folks like that. And it's neat because we sometimes give them, or we all the time give them a product that actually can truly compete in the marketplace. And they're like, wait, what do we do now? So it's like the best problem to have, you know?
That's it. I mean, you guys don't do demos, right? You do records. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So this is interesting for French musicians as well, actually. There's a lot, as you know, Justyna, a lot of French musicians would like to record in Nashville and they're not always certain where they can go as they don't know anybody, you know.
That's something I've been wanting to do for years, Tony, and I actually had created an LLC back before I even met Eddie. That was a goal of mine, was to bridge that gap and bring French artists here and bring people from here over to Europe.
Yeah, well, that's my idea. This is what I've wanted to do since the days of Dream West magazine. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. Have that.
Yeah, I love your vision.
Cultural exchange, you know, that's the whole point. You know, and my argument now is that with Brexit, a lot used to go to London to record. London's become much more difficult with Brexit. You know, bringing your instruments to and from crossing the channel now is a nightmare because they've got so much extra taxes to pay and this and that.
Yeah, so you might as well come to Nashville.
It used to be. See?
And the dollar is cheaper than the pound. Way cheaper than the pound.
You know, so things are,
So
I think
to Nashville.
This is an opportunity really that's come. And I think the British were very foolish to have Brexit because they didn't take into account the music industry and how much it would suffer. And everybody in Britain, the musicians have been shouting about it, from Paul McCartney to, you know, even who else was shouting? There was Elton John. All these guys have been on about this. You know, Bono of U2 saying, look, what are you doing? Think about the music scene. But they didn't. and it cost a lot for music. Anyway, I'm going to hit you with some questions because that's the point at the moment. I'll start with Justyna. Can you describe the circumstances that led you to come to France, or rather to live in Paris originally?
Oh, good question. Well, I always loved France and French. I had studied French in school, and my mother, who is a singer-songwriter, country artist, actually took me to France for the first time when I was 16. And she was doing a tour there around France. And I fell in love with the country, and I made a lot of friends, actually people I'm still in touch with today during that tour, during that trip. And then I had it in my mind that I always wanted to, I knew I wanted to do music, and I knew I wanted to also go back to Europe. And so when I did my first record several years later, I searched out opportunities to go play in Europe, and I ended up reconnecting with a lot of my old friends I'd met the first time, and also got introduced to some really great new people, and that's how I was able to sign a record deal in Paris. And I'd had a couple of different opportunities also in Holland and in England, for example, but I had my heart set on France. And I had already had some friends there, and so that's how I ended up. And so then I signed the record deal with 13 Bis in Paris.
I'm really glad you chose France for us.
Yes, thank you. Me too.
I deal with the UK a lot, but France is becoming a place to explore really now, more than ever. Eddie, your turn.
Well,
what a track. Sorry, carry on, my friend, carry on.
When I was very young, I was an Air Force brat. My father had gone. He was drafted to play professional baseball out of college, and he wound up going to officers training school, and I was a military brat for a little while. He got hired by a big company here in Nashville, Tennessee. He's actually from Texas. And we all moved up here when I was very young, and being a great baseball player, he wound up joining Knights of Columbus, which is a Catholic men's get together with league. And they had a softball team that they would get out and play. And my dad, Justyna laughs about this, he was the guy that could hit the ball into the river. So all these other teams wanted my dad on their softball team as their ringer. And they happened to be, back in the day, RCA and CBS and ABC, all these record labels had these promotion teams. And they would pack the back of our Dodge Dart or our Fiat with all these vinyl records. And I grew up listening to all these records out of Nashville. And we had a piano, and I played piano. And I just started learning piano, classical, learning to read. And that really I was one of the few guys that played, like I was a really good piano player back in high school and what have you. And I just decided to keep pursuing it. And I went to Belmont University here local. So I've really never really left Nashville. I did orchestration and arranging here and studied, and I wound up joining a pop band and wound up doing arrangements and charts because I knew how to do all that for the guys. And I didn't really know it at the time, but when you're live and you're playing in front of just tons of people all the time, we're not rehearsing. I'm writing these charts, and we're kind of, we're sitting there working like live on the start. We're put on the spot. And that term, I didn't realize it, but I was producing. That's what a producer really does, is organize the best musicians they can find, charts them, and does these arrangements and kind of directs them. And I'm, like I said, it's kind of a behind the scene thing. And then of course, computers had come out. I learned how to start programming, and I was doing a lot of transcriptions and charts for copyright companies because I knew how to do all the longhand, and I would take a lot of songs and write them longhand. So I continued my chops that way. And luckily I got hired by Steve Cropper and Juan Contreras when I met them at a dear friend's house. They met me, and they were teaming up with a country group here called Shenandoah to start a publishing company. And they knew that I could write charts, I could program, I could record. I started kind of recording demos for them. And Steve Cropper and I have never parted ways. And about 11 years ago, I guess, is when he met Justyna along with me. And we've never parted ways.
Yeah,
we're all together.
That's a great story. You gave me a lot to write there, Eddie.
Well, I was saying I'm in the music business because my dad was a ringer on the softball team.
It's something, you know, fate as well, I think, plays a huge part in things, that things just seem to fall into place somehow, you know. It's somehow hard to explain things that can happen.
It's so hard to explain because when Justyna and I met, I was hired to kind of go. There was this. Well, Justyna, you tell me. It was Jack Daniels. Speaking of Europe, was flying over like 200 of the distributors and 100 winners to throw them over here and entertain them at the Jack Daniels distillery. And I got hired to basically be the guy that can communicate between the musicians, the sound guys, and the guys running the show. And then Justyna, you could tell how you got there.
I actually still don't really know how I got there. It was such a random event. I think I was kind of like a stage manager, and it was our friend Billy Block actually just brought me onto this project. I knew Billy Block. Many years ago. Billy.
Yeah.
I love Billy. Yes.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Billy. But yeah, he brought me on this project. That's how I met Eddie. That's where we met. And Cropper was on that event too. And that was how it all started right there. Was that one of your questions, Tony?
You know,
sorry.
It's strange how life is, but it's meant to be, you know? Okay, I'm going to hit you with another question. Well, you've just explained me how you met Eddie, so that's question 2, Don. You've just answered it without me asking it. Wow. Okay, I'm going to hit you with one because you just answered it. You just told me exactly what it is. It's incredible. How would you describe your actual RCA Studio C, Eddie? How would you describe it briefly, if you could? Just
it's we cultivate
so much history.
artistry.
I know that's the problem. That's a lot.
Basically, what we do is we truly cultivate artistry over there. Studio C, we're very fortunate that we got invited by Aubrey Preston 7 years ago to come there because the owner of the whole building had saved it from demolition, and he just knew the history that was there. And I didn't even know, we didn't know Aubrey back then, did we, Justyna? He called and he had met me, or somebody recommended and introduced him to us because he wanted to fill the building with that creativity that came out of the 60s and just keep it going. So he invited us to the Studio C back then. And that's where that comes from. But our style of just basically really developing artists and their sound, their content, and basically finding their voice in the marketplace, if you will, cultivating that talent, that just came with us because that's what we were doing before we got to Studio C. But now, you know, with that wonderful shiny object that we're in, it really helps us to get the word out on this, just a way that we really work with the artistry. I guess that's what we're like, a boutique company. I love the way that Justyna says, like, we're very boutique, you know?
Yeah.
It's a specialized thing that we do, you know?
But you're helping artists that need to find a place in the marketplace. And that's important.
Exactly.
That's important because it's not easy these days, we all know. Justyna, what have I put here? Okay, what are your plans for this year? Well, we've got plans for you this year, but what are your plans generally?
Our plans for this year, gosh, well now we've got several projects that we're working on, several artists projects that we're finishing up, mixing at various stages of mixing. We have several artists that one of our artists in Canada, we just found out, is nominated for the youth for the, what is it, the Canada CMAs.
Yeah, it's a Horizon Award.
Yeah.
It's a Horizon Award.
Oh,
so all the
Horizon
songs.
Award.
So all the songs that we wrote, we produced a whole, we wrote and produced a whole project on her. I guess it was eight songs. And yes, she's nominated for the Horizon Award. Cropper and Eddie are nominated for a Grammy, and that's, the Grammys are going to be in April. And we're just going to be building on all this really great momentum that we have going.
Oh, tell about you and your mom and all the music you've got out there.
Yep. And then another thing, and we're producing my mom's album, her next bluegrass album. We found out last week that her last single was the #1 song of 2021 in all of bluegrass. So she's got a lot of momentum going as well. We actually have her coming into the studio today, this afternoon, to do some more vocals with Ronnie Bowman, who's another great songwriter and co-writer on her album. And yeah, we have a new artist signed with a company that we've launched with Steve Cropper, the three of us, and we've signed Emily McGill, who we're developing and writing with, and it's very exciting. So just building on all of that.
Yeah.
And now that live music is coming back, we've been working on my project as an artist, my personal artist project. We're in the final stages of mixing. And so I'm looking forward to releasing some new music. And we've been invited, Eddie and I have been invited to play a private event on April 28th with some of that new music.
Great.
And also going back to Europe. I'm planning to release new music in Europe this year as well.
Could come in handy considering what we're going to do. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm hoping to, yes.
Yeah, there's going to be a
that.
lot happening. We're just trying to get rid of COVID out of the way, and we can really
I know.
living like
I think the neatest thing that what is really cool about the back and forth is that Justyna has been living that. It's not like we're trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's just like, oh, this is totally normal for her.
Yeah, and I was going to just ask you about your interest in gastronomy, both of you.
Oh my God.
Eddie, you told me about your we want your chef hat on, by the way. That's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
Yes, please. You will not.
How did that happen? The interest in gastronomy, both of you.
Yeah.
Who wants
Are
to
you
go
asking that
first,
question
Eddie?
now, or is that for a separate magazine? Because we can write a whole, book on that. My great grandfather was a baker in New Orleans, and he had a store and all, and that went straight down through my grandmother, who, when again my daddy was overseas, I was living in New Orleans with my mom, because my daddy and mom had met at University of Houston. My whole family on that side is from New Orleans. So I would just sit in the kitchen with my grandmother, and I would cook with her all the time. And then when we first moved up to Nashville, I was very young, probably 4 years old or something. And my mom tells the story about me coming up one day at like 6:30 in the morning or something, saying, breakfast is ready. And she said, to hear tell it's funny, she said she tore off the sheets and went running downstairs. Wondering what had happened. And she says the whole place was set up so beautifully with the sides, the drinks, everything. So yeah, I made pancakes and bacon and some grapefruit, all this stuff, right?
My God.
And so it's just because it's been in my family on my mom's side anyways. It's just, for me, it's what do you call it? It's like when it's a Zen moment. I sit in the kitchen just to kind of get my mind right. And I do that all the time, you know. And so I've learned through the years too, because I have children, that I learned to cook for them every day, every night. My kids would come home. Daddy was for appetizer. And that's the stuff that kept them off in you know, they're good kids, right? They never got into trouble because they always want to come home for daddy's cooking. So
You could keep them on a leash.
Kept
them on a leash with cooking.
Right. Basically, it was one of those silent fences, I guess. Is that?
But it is a kind of love affair, isn't it? I mean, once you're into it, that's it. It's a lifelong thing. You know,
for me, it is, no doubt about it. I couldn't imagine. You know, like my wife was just sending me recipes.
Yeah,
you know?
I was just saying that it's kind of Eddie's therapy. It's like if he's ever stressed, you know, he's always, you can find him in the kitchen, you know.
That's a way, that's a release. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy. But it's more than that. It's something that is addictive. It is a love affair. I mean, either you like it or you don't.
Yes, sir.
You talk to great chefs and they say, you know, it's my life is their answer, you know. It's not just a job, it's their existence.
Mm.
Did you do that when you came to France, or was it before you came to France, Justyna?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my love affair started really going to France. And I can honestly say that I never appreciated cuisine, and I always knew I loved international everything, you know, cultures, languages, all that stuff. But I was always really picky when I was a kid, and I grew up in Nashville, and there weren't a lot of great restaurants, you know, in the 90s when I was growing up. And, you know, I would go to like McDonald's or Arby's, and my parents were not really chefs and they were really busy, so they didn't have a lot of time to cook. So I never really knew I liked food as much as I did, but it just took me maturing my palate, and then also learning the foods that don't agree with my identify, kind of just the things that I really don't like. Then the world opened up, and then I moved to France, and it was just an explosion of flavors, and you know, the bakeries and the bistros and the wine, and and then it definitely turned into a love affair for me.
I mean, this is what happened to me when I was brought up as a kid in Ireland and then the Isle of Man, you know. So we didn't have a great choice of things like cheeses, really.
Right.
And then I came to France, and it's like, oh my God. I'd never seen so many cheeses in my life.
One day I'll get to enjoy that.
Yes, we got to get Eddie to France, Tony.
It's insane. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. Oh, for God's sake. And I'm a cheese addict, unfortunately, now. Thanks to that.
How can you not
Nothing
be?
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Cheese, pastries, champagne. Yeah, big fan of champagne. Sorry.
Wow, we have so much in common, Justyna, don't we?
I know. We all have so much in common.
I mean, you know, studios in the house, wineries in the back, cheese, champagne.
Well, as I say, look at Brad Pitt. He's just completely gone for it. It's clear. I mean,
there's just such a joy in food, and not even just food, but like sharing food, and that's part of the love, I think, is doing it with
sharing it with your friends, with your family, and you know, it's just insane. It's a life. It's a different life.
It is, and that was what really, I think, solidified my friendship with Eddie too. Is that we had that instant like, wait, you're a gourmet chef? I love gourmet food.
Exactly. I've got to go, guys. I've got the old notice coming up. But hey, this is great. I'm going to reach out. As I say, I've already sent an initial message, but I'm going to push it now with Brad Pitt's people because we really want to look into this seriously now.
Right.
And I'll
Thanks,
let you
Tony.
know I will be going to Paris. I should have gone this month, but I've been held up with everything. But I will be going in February, that's for sure, because I got to go. And we got to set things up. So I'll get all of this written up. Wish me luck, because there's a lot to write up. And we're going to get it in Dance Floor magazine, but also I'm also now been asked to write for Country Music International, which is in Germany.
Excellent.
Luckily, I don't have to write in German in that. I can write in English, but in the French one, I'll have to write all in French. So it has to get all translated by me in French to put it in the
Wow. Congrats. That's exciting.
Yes, that's
We'll
wonderful,
keep in
Tony.
touch anyway now because things will be moving fairly rapidly, you know.
Great.
Okay.
Well, we're excited, Tony. Thanks for including us.
That's why I say this year
Yeah,
is going to
very much.
be, it's going to be a roller coaster ride this year.
Yes.
And
things are
also
ramping
we
up.
just pray we can see the back of this COVID nightmare because
Mhm.
so many artists are really, they've just had enough of this, you know.
Yeah.
It's been
We're
enough.
ready to move on.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
want to get back to the life we knew before and not this insanity. We've had it for 2 years now. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
too much. It's done too much damage to the industry as a whole. So we
Mhm.
need to get back on there. Okay, my friends, I'll leave you for now.
Well,
And
thanks
I'll
for
get
everything,
writing
Tony.
this. I'll start tomorrow. I've got
Great.
classes tonight, but tomorrow I'll start writing it all. And then
Great.
we'll
Well,
move forward. And then we do a Zoom call with Brad Pitt if we can.
Oh my gosh. That's
I'll be
Okay.
like, is that my twin? Is that Eddie Gore, my twin?
Oh yeah, right. There we go.
No, you say, that's my long lost brother. I wondered.
Yeah, is that my long lost brother? My other?
Yeah, it's from The River Runs Through It. That was the sequel.
Okay, guys, take care.
You
Enjoy your
too.
day.
Thank
We'll be
you
in
so
touch
much.
very soon. Okay,
You
Ciao.
too.
see you now.
Be
Bye.
soon.
Bye. Bye.